Well, at the Gordie Howe International Bridge, crews are working to wrap up construction there. Work is into the final stages. The bridge is set to open later this year.
A $4.79 billion mega project is set to change North America's trade landscape, the Gordie Howe International Bridge, opening in fall 2025.
The Windsor-Detroit Bridge Authority is now targeting September of 2025. The project has been in the works for decades now, with construction ongoing for the past few years.
It was built to relieve the traffic chaos at the Ambassador Bridge, a symbol of U.S.-Canada partnership. With Trump's looming 50% steel tariff, the bridge's future is in jeopardy.
We're going to bring it from 25% to 50% the tariffs on steel into the United States of America.
With rising costs for materials and potential delays, this once ambitious project might turn into an expensive mistake. So, can the bridge still deliver on its promises, or will it be swallowed by escalating trade tensions? What will the future of cross-border trade look like if the bridge falters? In 2018, Canada unveiled an ambitious $4.79 billion plan to solve a long-standing issue in cross-border trade, the Gordie Howe International Bridge. This bridge is more than just a crossing, it's an ambition. Imagine a structure that could not only shorten travel times, but also reshape the future of trade between Canada and the U.S. That's the Gordie Howe International Bridge, a sleek, modern marvel designed to replace the aging Ambassador Bridge, a symbol of trade that has seen better days. Spanning nearly 1.5 miles across the Detroit River, this bridge isn't just long in distance, but long on ambition, promising to drive efficiencies, boost economic output, and unite two nations in ways that go far beyond mere concrete and steel. Designed with cutting-edge technology and functionality, the bridge will offer 6 lanes, including dedicated truck routes that directly connect to Michigan's Interstate 75 and Ontario's Highway 401. Truckers, the lifeblood of cross-border trade, will benefit most from this project. With state-of-the-art customs facilities, crossing times will be slashed by 20 minutes, adding up to savings of $1.5 billion over the next 30 years. A dedicated path for pedestrians and cyclists will also connect the two countries, making it the first international bridge to link up with the Trans-Canada Trail system. Talk about smooth sailing, or in this case, smooth driving. But while the engineering behind this project is impressive, the financial commitment is equally monumental. Canada has agreed to foot the entire $6.4 billion bill for the bridge, a jump from the initial $4.79 billion estimate, largely due to the unexpected hurdles of the global pandemic. Toll revenues, projected to hit $70 million annually, are expected to pay back the investment over the coming decades, but the value of this infrastructure project goes far beyond numbers. It's a connection that will facilitate smoother trade and further strengthen the partnership between the two nations. So while the bridge will undoubtedly bear the weight of traffic, it will also carry the weight of the promises that come with it. As the Gordie Howe International Bridge nears completion, it stands poised to tackle the very challenges that have overwhelmed the Ambassador Bridge, offering a new chapter in cross-border connectivity. The Ambassador Bridge, standing tall since 1929, has long been the silent workhorse of North American trade, carrying nearly $200 billion in commerce annually. Yet this iconic structure is now facing a serious identity crisis. What was once a sleek connector of two nations is becoming a clogged artery in the region's trade flow. As the volume of goods, especially in the automotive industry, continues to surge, the bridge struggles to keep up, creating bottlenecks that slow down the movement of trucks. In an era where just-in-time delivery is the name of the game, this congestion is more than just an inconvenience. It's a serious business obstacle. The Ambassador Bridge, designed almost a century ago, was never built to handle today's demands. With over 10,000 trucks crossing daily, the aging infrastructure can no longer keep up with the pressure. What was once a smooth ride is now a bumpy journey with frequent delays and safety concerns.
Chopper 7 over massive traffic delays at the Ambassador Bridge and Detroit and Windsor Tunnel.
In fact, the bridge has seen incidents like falling concrete, prompting many to question whether the crossing is safe for continued use.
Windsor, part of Wyandotte Street West, is shut down because of falling concrete and debris from the Ambassador Bridge.
But the real thorn in the side is not just its age, it's the ownership model. The Maroon family, who privately owns the bridge, has faced heavy criticism for prioritizing profit over maintenance. Despite reaping massive profits, they've been reluctant to invest in upgrades or even basic repairs, leading to a frustrating gridlock of both traffic and solutions. While the Ambassador Bridge remains a crucial link in North American trade, it's clear that its days as the go-to crossing are numbered. As the traffic jams continue to grow, the Gordie Howe International Bridge is gearing up to step in and take some of the load off, offering a much-needed relief valve for this overstretched gateway. So, while the Ambassador Bridge might have served its purpose in the past, it's time to pass the torch, or in this case, the truck keys. But as the Ambassador Bridge struggles to keep pace with growing demands, the Gordie Howe International Bridge, poised to alleviate some of that pressure, faces its own set of challenges due to recent trade tariffs. In June 2025, President Trump announced a dramatic 50% tariff on imported steel and aluminum, a move that was designed to boost U.S. domestic production, but is causing major turbulence in industries that rely on cross-border supply chains. While the goal might have been to fortify domestic markets, the ripple effect of these tariffs is spreading faster than a chain reaction in a factory line. This trade dispute has brought new challenges to the Gordie Howe International Bridge, a monumental infrastructure project designed to ease congestion between Windsor and Detroit. With its opening slated for September 2025, the bridge is built to enhance trade, but the recent steel tariffs are giving this much-needed project a headache before it even opens its doors. The impact of these tariffs is already being felt on the Gordie Howe Bridge's completion. While the majority of the bridge's steel components were sourced before the tariff hikes, the rising costs of remaining materials are now threatening the timely delivery of the project. The continued fluctuation in steel prices could cause unforeseen delays, pushing back the bridge's opening even further. Moreover, the increasing costs of steel and aluminum could delay other infrastructure projects that rely on these metals, further straining already tight supply chains. As construction schedules stretch and materials become more expensive, the ripple effect could extend far beyond just construction projects. It could disrupt the daily movement of goods, driving up prices and affecting everything from manufacturing to retail. The impact is spreading from one industry to the next like a virus, infecting sectors across the board. Meanwhile, the automotive industry, another key player in the trade war, has felt the sting of the tariffs. Stellantis, an automaker in the Windsor-Detroit corridor, had to temporarily halt production at its Windsor assembly plant for 2 weeks in April 2025, citing supply chain disruptions. With parts crossing the U.S.-Canada border multiple times before a car even hits the road, the tariffs have thrown a wrench in the gears of an industry already under pressure. A temporary shutdown affecting 3,600 workers paints a vivid picture of how these trade policies can ripple through industries and communities alike. The impact of these tariffs extends far beyond the automotive sector, with steel and aluminum shortages affecting everything from construction to manufacturing. While the goal of the tariffs is to strengthen U.S. industries, the unintended consequences are piling up. And with escalating tensions, Canada's swift retaliation has added yet another layer of complexity to the Gordie Howe Bridge's future. Under Prime Minister Mark Carney, the country quickly fired back with retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods, targeting everything from steel and aluminum to sports equipment. With U.S. goods worth $29.8 billion now facing a 25% tariff. It was clear Canada was ready to defend its turf and protect its industries, especially as the Gordie Howe International Bridge inches closer to completion. But the economic fallout is no small matter. While Canada's swift response might have been a tactical move, the escalating tensions are putting the Gordie Howe Bridge's financial foundation to the test. What was envisioned as a groundbreaking investment now risks becoming a costly gamble. Higher tariffs on U.S. goods could inflate consumer prices and disrupt supply chains, raising questions about whether this infrastructure dream will be worth the price tag. The trade dispute may have started over steel, but the ripple effects are spreading across industries, impacting everything from manufacturing to retail. In the midst of this turmoil, Canada's hope lies in negotiating a resolution, but the future remains uncertain. So can the Gordie Howe Bridge bridges the gap? Or will it become another casualty in the trade wars? Once envisioned as a beacon of U.S.-Canada cooperation, the Gordie Howe International Bridge is now at risk of becoming a bridge to nowhere. Originally seen as a promising solution to ease cross-border trade, it's increasingly being viewed as a stark reminder of the fractured trust between the two nations. With its toll revenues projected at $70 million annually, the bridge was meant to be a key economic asset for Canada. However, as trade tensions escalate and tariffs create a ripple effect through industries, economists warn that the bridge may not generate the traffic needed to sustain those projections. As trade volumes dip and economic instability sets in, the bridge faces the very real possibility of underuse. The hope that it would become a vital trade artery is now being overshadowed by the fear it could become a costly white elephant, an expensive structure, underutilized, symbolizing a fractured dream of cross-border cooperation. Without the anticipated trade flows, the Gordie Howe Bridge risks becoming a monument to misguided optimism rather than a functional link between the two nations. In this context, the Gordie Howe International Bridge serves as a stark reminder of the fragile nature of international relations and the complex interplay between infrastructure development and economic policy. As both nations navigate these turbulent waters, the future of the bridge and the broader economic partnership it represents remains uncertain. On the other hand, the future of the Ambassador Bridge remains uncertain, caught between becoming a relic and continuing as a key trade route. The Ambassador Bridge, a longtime trade titan, may be showing signs of age, but it's not ready to retire just yet. Despite the challenges it faces, this iconic structure remains a key link between Detroit and Windsor, continuing to handle significant cross-border traffic. However, with its aging infrastructure and growing competition from the new Gordie Howe International Bridge, the Ambassador Bridge is at a crossroads. Some argue that its established role in cross-border trade gives it an edge, especially if trade volumes slow down. After all, familiarity often wins out, and the Ambassador Bridge still boasts direct access to major highways, making it a go-to route for many. But the days of being the only game in town are numbered. As the Gordie Howe Bridge prepares to open, offering modern capacity and efficiency, the Ambassador Bridge might have to navigate some rough waters if it wants to keep its competitive edge. Will the Ambassador Bridge continue to stand tall, or will it be left in the dust of the Gordie Howe Bridge's shiny new lanes? The answer is far from certain. Meanwhile, the economic fallout of the tariffs extends far beyond just cars, trucks, and bridges, creating a chain reaction felt across industries. The Gordie Howe International Bridge, designed to carry a broad spectrum of goods, from agriculture to raw materials, now faces a tough road ahead. With trade volumes dipping, the bridge's projected $70 million in annual toll revenues might soon look like a pipe dream. In Canada, the economic consequences are starting to stack up. Job losses, shrinking business investments, and disrupted supply chains threaten to derail economic stability. As industries scramble to adjust, the repercussions spread faster than a misdirected email in a corporate office, affecting sectors across the board. U.S. states like Michigan, Ohio, and New York, which rely heavily on Canadian trade, are facing similar challenges. The nature of North American trade is like a giant game of Jenga. If one piece shifts, the whole structure wobbles. Delays, rising costs, and economic uncertainty are creating turbulence on both sides of the border. The full effects of these disruptions are still unfolding, but one thing's clear: the trade war is leaving both nations' economic futures on shaky ground. As tensions escalate, diplomatic efforts are underway to defuse the crisis, though it's looking more like a game of tug-of-war than a negotiation. Canadian officials are reportedly in constant contact with Washington, urging exemptions or the complete removal of the tariffs. Both sides are trying to walk a tightrope between protecting their economies and maintaining international relationships, but finding common ground has proven to be anything but smooth sailing. Meanwhile, business groups across both nations are raising the alarm. From automakers to farmers, industries are lobbying politicians on both sides, warning of catastrophic job losses and economic fallout. The message is clear: the tariffs could ripple across industries, causing delays, price hikes, and destabilizing supply chains. It's a perfect storm that could leave workers and consumers caught in the crossfire. On the flip side, some argue that Trump's tariffs might end up being a blessing in disguise for U.S. industries. Though painful in the short term, the tariffs could push American manufacturers to ramp up domestic production. With higher import costs, companies may find it more profitable to source goods locally, sparking a revival in U.S. manufacturing. This shift could create jobs, modernize industries, and reduce reliance on foreign supply chains. Additionally, as a sort of nudge, companies may be encouraged to invest in new technologies, automation, and infrastructure to keep up with demand, thus modernizing and expanding the U.S. manufacturing base. The goal is to make the U.S. economy less dependent on imports and more resilient in the face of global trade disruptions. While this strategy may lead to some growing pains, it could ultimately strengthen the U.S. manufacturing sector, making it more self-sufficient and competitive. It's a high-risk, high-reward approach, but if it works, it could prove to be a win for the American economy in the long run. However, as this trade war unfolds, the Gordie Howe International Bridge, a $4.79 billion symbol of North American unity, remains a beacon of hope. Its modern design and capacity offer a potential relief valve for the pressures created by this trade dispute. The bridge might just be the smoother ride both countries need to navigate this bumpy trade war. So, what do you think? Will the Gordie Howe Bridge become a vital asset, or is it destined to be a costly white elephant? Can the U.S. manufacturing sector thrive under these tariffs? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop your comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more insights, and stay tuned for the latest updates on the trade war and its impact. Thanks for watching.